One of the most anticipated British heavyweight clash also took place in Riyadh on the Beterbiev versus Bivol undercard, and that was Fabio Wardley versus Frazer Clarke. Now, for me personally, after I watched their battle back in March of this year, it was such a crazy fight. Obviously, as you all know, it was a draw, but I actually wanted to see these guys get back in there, even though it's the fight, actually the rematch came about a little bit early than I thought. Yeah, I thought maybe these guys would take a year out. I thought these two guys will, likely go, have other warm-up fights, tune up fights, build themselves up again, and then come back, maybe in 2025, even like 2026. I thought they'll take a little break from each other and then get back in there in the future. Not so soon. But the fight took place on Saturday in Riyadh season. Do you know what I mean? And it was a crazy, crazy fight. It was epic. One of the most brutal knockouts I have ever seen in my life. And this was crazy. A lot of us were not expecting that level of devastation on that we saw on that night. Like, it was just crazy. Like, the first fight between these two guys, they absolutely went at it. Frazer Clarke was dropped, but then he came back. He busted up Fabio Wardley. He had a big, big cut on the bridge of his nose, and that was crazy. It was a bloody fight, and the rematch. All of us sitting at home, we anticipated. We all thought that, listen, this is going to be another gruesome, another grind, another tough fight. Both guys have great chins. Both fighters, they don't give you an inch. They want to bang out. They want to fight. They're all about entertainment. You know what I mean? It's the heavyweight division. And we thought it's going to be another tough fight. Little did we know how things were going to end that night. And Fabio Wardley, oh my God, this guy is just a scary guy, man. Like, the power these guys got, like, is crazy. Like, he's going to be knocking out a lot of these heavyweights in the future. Do you know what I mean? This guy is an absolute savage. He's a banger. And listen, Frazer Clarke ain't no mug. Frazer Clarke, he's got a great chin as well. Before this rematch, Frazer Clarke is a tough guy, man. Do you know what I mean? He comes forward, he brings the heat as well. But, we did not expect that fight to end in the first round the way it ended. Like, Fabio Wardley, that right hand when he cornered Frazer Clarke on the ropes like that. When he let go of that right hand, he wobbled Frazer Clarke. Frazer Clarke came back with his own uppercut. He kind of like, I thought, you know what, at this stage, I thought, okay, my guy is kind of regrouping himself. But, Fabio Wardley picked it up again, man, and cornered him again, and he let some bombs go, and he hit him. I think it was on the left side. Like, literally, the way Frazer Clarke was knocked out, like that right hand, it was so devastating. He left like a dent on the left side of Frazer Clarke's head. It looked crazy. I'm not gonna share no images, I'm not gonna share pictures, I'm not gonna share video of the actual knockout, but it looked absolutely scary. Like, if I was like a family member of Frazer Clarke watching that, it just must have been a horror seeing that on TV. Like, your family member being hurt like that. That was crazy. That was actually crazy. Like, his face caved in on the left side, and for a moment, like, the way his body language was on the ropes, it looked like Frazer Clarke was suffering some type of stroke. Like, do you know what I mean? Listen, look, forgive me. I don't want to downplay people that have had strokes and everything like that. Trust me, that's not my intentions. What I mean is, it literally looked like he suffered a stroke in a ring. Like, the guy just he looked out of it. It looked so concerning. It looked so worrying. Like, I've never seen that. Do you know what I mean? His whole face was numb. Like, it was just a crazy knockout. It was really a crazy knockout, and I don't wish that on nobody. Listen, we're all boxing fans. We want to see great fights. Of course, look, we pay money to watch fights at home on pay-per-view. We pay money to go into arenas and stadiums and watch fights. Listen, we want to see great fights. We want to see knockouts. But at the end of the day, when you get down to the human level, listen, if you did not feel for Frazer Clarke in that moment, I mean, you're not a human being. you have to feel for him. Like that was crazy, man. And it's just a reminder that boxing is such a dangerous sport. You do not play boxing. Do you know what I mean? You do not play boxing. And these guys are skilled. Do you know what I mean? These guys are warriors. They go in there and they give their hearts out. They give everything. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes fighters like they go on their shields and we're happy, like, yo, we praise fighters for going out in their shields. But you know what? Sometimes, look, just don't take no damage. You know what I mean? If you take some damage in a fight, don't take more damage. Why? Why take more damage, unnecessary damage, if you don't have to? So, you know what I mean? I actually I rate and I respect the trainers in the corners that actually throw the towel in. You know what, like when a fighter is getting beaten up, like he's got no chance of winning the fight, and the trainer just goes, you know what? I'm gonna throw the towel in. You're done. It's over. I don't want to see you get hurt. Respect, salute to those coaches, because listen, we want to see these fighters get in a ring and come out of the ring healthy, still being able to go back to their families and be able to function, their brains function, they will be able to eat and just be well in good health. We don't want to see, fighters getting out of the ring and being spoon-fed for the rest of their lives. That's not what we want to see. And that knockout on Saturday was devastating. It was horror. Like, I've never seen nothing like it. I really hope, and I've heard that Clarke has had surgery. I really hope he's all right. I hope his family, they are beside him. They've been with him. I hope the guy is strong. And, I don't know what that does to his career. Like, what impact does that now have in his career? And what are the doctors going to advise him? Because an injury like that, the way his head was caved in and the position that he was in on the ropes, like I said, look, I don't mean to keep repeating this, but it looked like he suffered a stroke in there. It looked absolutely devastating. What would the medical advice be? Would they advise him to ever go back in a ring? That's one of the concerns that I have. You know what I mean? Listen, my main concern is that I want to make sure that he's all right, that he's healthy, he can go back to his family. Do you know what I mean? And he can get back to some type of normality. My second concern is, would Clarke be able to ever box again? Would he be able to get back in the ring? Because the way this left side of his head was caved in, those could be permanent injuries, like permanent damage. You know what I mean? Would he ever get the license again? Would he ever get the medical approval to be able to fight again? And he's so young. He's in the beginning of his career, where he's had 9 fights as a pro. Like, he's still got so many opportunities out there. But, an injury like that, such a devastating knockout like that he suffered on Saturday, that could spell the end of his career, especially with heavyweight boxing. These are no 140 pounders, 147 pounders, 130 pounders. These guys are big. These guys are lumps. They're knocking each other out. Like, he can't, do you know what I mean? I'll be worried if I was in his corner, I was his coach, his manager. I'll be worried putting him back in there and, putting him at risk of potentially getting knocked out again. Like, that could have a devastating effect on his life. Forget boxing. We're talking about his life here. We're looking at a human level. And I really hope, for his sake, because his career is still so young, he's at the start of it, really. 9 fights is nothing, especially in boxing. Yeah, he can have many more fights in the future. I just hope that he's able to recover, he's able to come back from this, he's able to be medically cleared to fight again. Because listen, an injury like that, some doctors, especially when you have to get your license, you have to get checked out, he might never be medically approved to fight. And that'll be devastating. Like, if his career has to be cut short because of that knockout, like, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. And that would be so unfair on a guy that's so talented, has his whole future ahead of him. And I really pray, man. My thoughts are with Clarke. I really hope that he pulls through this, he comes back stronger. And most of all, I hope, he can, spend some time with his family. And listen, life itself, us human beings, we're bigger than boxing, we're bigger than sports, innit? And at the end of the day, that's a human being, that's someone's son, someone's, I don't know if he has kids, but he's a family member of somebody. Do you know what I mean? So I really hope he's well. I heard he had surgery. I hope he's getting on okay. I really do also hope that he'll be able to box again, because his career is so young. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to see his career end under those circumstances. But listen, that type of injury, that type of knockout, the way it was so devastating and harrowing, if a doctor, if the medical, examiners and stuff come out and say, listen, we will never approve you. We will never, sign off one of your fights. I'll also understand it because that was brutal. Do you know what I mean? Listen, shout out to Fabio Wardley as well. He came out and he said, listen, I hope Frazer Clarke is all right. You know what I mean? I hope I can go backstage and talk to him and stuff. And I hope he did do that because at the end of the day, these guys, they're fighting, man. They're fighting people. Their job is to go in there and handle business and knock people out. But at the same time, they're also, most boxers, majority of them don't want to see the opponent hurt beyond the fight. You know what I mean? Where their whole life is affected afterwards. We've seen some crazy travesties in boxing, and I really hope in the case of Frazer Clarke, this doesn't happen. I hope he pulls through. I hope that he can get back in some normality, be healthy, and is able to box again. So yeah, man, listen, all my thoughts and prayers to Frazer Clarke, and I do really hope he pulls through and he comes back stronger. And listen, I just want to see the best for every single boxer out there. And also for Fabio Wardley, damn, the sky's the limit. What's next for him? He's now made a big announcement in the heavyweight division. There's so many fights out there. I would like to see him in there with maybe a Dillian White. I would like to see him there maybe a Derek Chisora. That would be a good fight. Why not even what's his name? Joe Joyce. Stick him in there with these guys because these guys I just mentioned, they're kind of like becoming gatekeepers at this moment of time. And Fabio Wardley, he's announced himself in the heavyweight division. He's banging on that door, and I'm sure he will love a crack at one of the big names. And I think like after that performance, as harrowing as he was, as devastating as he was, he's handled business and he can now move on. And I'm sure his team, they're going to be looking at, a big name in British boxing. And I think he deserves that. He deserves a big name so that he can really take himself to the next level. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, man, listen, all the best to him. He's also young and, and listen, he's really announced himself and I'm sure he's going to do great things in the future. But listen, I'm going to leave it at that. Drop a comment if you saw that knockout. What do you think? Do you see Frazer Clarke ever coming back, from that devastating knockout, that injury that he sustained? The left side of his head was caved in. Do you see him ever coming back from that? Or do you think that's the end of him? Let me know in the comment. I'll really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching EMGM Sports. It's me, your boy, Enzo. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.